There's a moment you don't tell anyone about because you're not even sure how to explain it. A moment that sits quietly inside your chest, like a bruise you keep pressing without meaning to. It's the moment you realized something was wrong, but you didn't want it to be. The moment you felt your heart reaching for someone who kept slipping through your hands, no matter how tightly you tried to hold them. You kept telling yourself it was love. You kept telling yourself it was special. You kept telling yourself that soul connections feel intense, and that intensity must mean it's real. But your body knew. Your silence at night knew. The ache in your stomach knew. Your nervous system knew. And it whispered to you over and over in a language you didn't yet understand. You remember the first time they pulled away. Not dramatically, not loudly, just enough. Enough for your chest to tighten. Enough for your mind to start spinning stories. Enough for you to feel that cold rush under your skin that only happens when someone important withdraws their warmth. You felt the shift before they said a word. Of course you did. People like you feel everything before it's spoken. And that was the moment it began. Not the attachment, but the bond with the pain. You started paying attention to things nobody else would notice. The pause before they replied. The tone when they said, "I'm busy." The drop in energy you could feel even through a screen. You memorized their patterns like someone studying a dangerous map. Not because you're obsessive, but because your nervous system was trying to keep you safe from the instability you never asked for. And every time they disappeared and came back, your body reacted before your mind could. Your breath returned. Your shoulders softened. Your chest loosened. You felt alive again. You told yourself it was love. But it wasn't love. It was relief. Relief from the anxiety their inconsistency created. Relief from the fear that you were being abandoned again. Relief from that familiar ache, the one that feels like a childhood wound reopening. There were moments when they were soft with you. Real moments. Moments where you felt chosen, even if only for a second. The way they looked at you sometimes. The tone of their voice. The warmth. The closeness. Those rare little windows where you got to see the version of them you desperately wished was permanent. And that's the version you fell in love with. Not the person, but the possibility. Not the reality, but the potential. You kept trying to bring that version back. With kindness, with patience, with silence, with understanding, with bending yourself into shapes they never once tried to understand. You forgave their mixed signals. You forgave the disappearing acts. You forgave the emotional distance. You forgave the coldness. You forgave the excuses. You forgave the "I can't do relationships." But you didn't forgive because you're weak. You forgave because your heart was trying to survive the absence. Because losing them felt more terrifying than tolerating the pain they gave you. Trauma bonds make abandonment feel like death. Not because you're dramatic, but because your body remembers every moment in your life where you felt unchosen, unseen, unimportant. Some days they felt close. Other days, you felt like a stranger. They could go from warm to distant in the space of a breath. And every time they pulled away, you blamed yourself. You tried to be better, calmer, less emotional, more understanding, more patient. You tried to earn the closeness that should have never required effort. And just when you were finally ready to let go, Just when you were starting to accept the truth, they came back. They always come back. Not because they choose you, but because your presence feels safe and their presence feels harmful in the exact same moment. You thought it was fate. You thought it meant something. You thought it was connection. But it was the cycle. Pain, relief. Pain, relief. A loop your nervous system mistook for love because it mirrored old wounds you never learned to name. Here's the truth you didn't say out loud. You weren't obsessed. You weren't desperate. You weren't too much. You weren't overreacting. You were trauma bonded. You were emotionally attached to someone who activated your wounds instead of healing them. Your body wasn't addicted to the person. It was addicted to the roller coaster, the intensity, the unpredictability, the rush, the relief, the crash, the hope, the promise that maybe one day they'd finally give you the version of themselves you only saw in glimpses. But there comes a moment, a quiet moment, where something in you wakes up. Maybe it's tonight. Maybe it's right now. A small voice inside you whispers, "It wasn't love. It was survival." And for the first time, your heart listens. The grip loosens. The story starts to unravel. The spell breaks a little. Not because they finally showed up, but because you finally saw the truth. What you called love was your body trying to rewrite an old wound using someone who only made it deeper. You deserved steady. You deserved consistent. You deserved present. You deserved safe. You deserved someone who didn't make you prove you were worth staying for. And now that you see the difference between love and trauma bonding, you begin the slow, gentle journey back to yourself. You aren't broken. You aren't unlovable. You aren't hard to stay with. You're healing. You're waking up. You're coming home to yourself. And you're not alone. Not anymore. Welcome to Attachment Alchemy Lab.